BPM Suite 12c introduced a new style of expressing business rules called verbal rules. In this short lesson, I'm going to walk you through how to go about writing a simple verbal rule. Before we write a verbal rule, let's look at what our general rule looks like. Our general rule is expressed as an if-then statement with checking the value of the customer type status fact, and we are modifying the discount type fact. If the customer status is gold, we are offering a price discount of 20% and a shipping discount of 2-day free shipping. The way this rule is written is fairly readable to me, but at the same time it's not particularly business user friendly. Also, this is a small rule. As the rules get bigger and you have more test conditions and more actions, the rule can get progressively more difficult to read. Verbal rules enable you to author rules using natural language statements. Rules expressed using natural language can be much easier to read and understand, especially for business users. I'll now walk you through writing this same rule using verbal rules. Let me go to verbal rules, and I'm going to create a new verbal rule. Let's name our verbal rule. I'm going to call it discounts rule and press enter. You still have the if-then construct in a verbal rule, but the tests and actions are expressed using business phrases. You can go to business phrases, construct a few business phrases, and then come back to the rule and use them, or you could create the business phrases on the fly when you're creating the rule. Let's start authoring the rule now. For my test business phrase, I'm going to write it as I'm authoring the rule. So let's click on insert test. My test is checking if the customer has a gold status, so it's based on the customer type. So I can start by keying in customer type. You can see that as soon as I type in customer type, the editor gives us options of using several derived business phrases. These are derived based on the structure of the customer type fact. In my case, the customer type fact is an XML fact, and it has elements like age, name, credit score, status. So you can use one of these derived types, or you can also enter your own new business phrase here. So how did I know that I had to key in customer type instead of, let's say, just customer? That's because if you go to facts, you'll see that my customer fact has an alias of customer type. In fact, if I go in and change this to customer, then I can go back into my rule and key in customer. And I see the same derived phrases. Now I can make up my own business phrase in natural language. For example, customer has gold status. So you can add a new business phrase from the rule editor itself. You don't have to go to the business phrases editor. So I'm going to add a new business phrase from here. As soon as you do that, you notice two things. You notice that the discounts rule has now been marked as draft, and if you go to business phrases, you'll see our new business phrase that we just entered from the rule editor. The business phrase has been marked as draft because we've not really defined what test condition this business phrase maps to. If any of the business phrases in the rule are draft, the whole rule will be marked as draft. This phrase will be defined in terms of the customer fact. So the customer fact needs to be passed in as a parameter. To indicate that the customer is a parameter, put curly brackets around it. In fact, just so that we don't confuse it with the fact itself, let's name it with the lowercase c. Let's add the parameter definition now. The name is customer, and form is expression. We're going to pass it in. We're going to pass the fact into the variable from the rule, and type is customer. That's our fact, and you can leave the value set empty for our example. Let's start writing the test condition for the business phrase now. Click on insert test and simple test, and you should see our parameter in here. If you open that, you'll see the same attributes as the customer fact. So what we're going to check is the customer status. We're going to check if the customer status equals gold. Now let's define our action business phrase. So if a customer has gold status, one thing we'd like to do is offer a 20% price discount. So let's do that. Let's look for our discount. So there is a discount type fact. Let's go back in here and change the alias to discount so it's a little more readable. Let's go back in there and type in discount. And again, I am going to write a phrase around discount. Let's write a phrase that says offer a 20% price discount. And let's write one more phrase. Offer a 2-day free shipping discount. Let's go see our business phrases now. So you have the two new phrases in there, and you'll notice that these are action business phrases versus the first phrase that we added was a test business phrase. So any phrase that you add here is a test business phrase. Any phrase that you add in the then section is an action business phrase. Let's add the mapping for the two new business phrases now. So in this case, the discount is going to be a parameter. We're going to pass the discount fact in here. So let's use small case d and put the curly brackets around to indicate that's the parameter. And let's add the parameter. And that again is expression. It's going to be passed in from the rule, and that's going to be discount. That's the fact type. Let's add the mapping now. Insert action, and we're going to modify the discount fact. So select discount and set price discount to 20%. I'm going to leave the shipping discount empty for now. We'll use the other phrase to do that. Let's add the mapping for the shipping discount phrase. Again, this will be our variable or parameter, and we'll add our parameter here. Let's modify the discount, and we should set the shipping discount. Now that the mappings have been created, we can uncheck the draft. Let's save that. And if you go to our rule now, you'll see that it's no longer marked as a draft. In the rule, we need to pass in the parameters for the phrase. So for this phrase, we need to pass in the customer, that's our fact, and In this case, we are passing in our discount fact. Before we test this out now, I need to do one more thing. In my decision function, I need to initialize the output fact, initialize the discount fact. So by default, the price discount is 0 and the shipping discount is none. I'm also going to go ahead and remove my general rule that does the same thing. Let's use the unit test framework in the editor to test these rules. Let's create a new test suite. I'm just going to take the default name. Let's edit the test suite to add some test cases. Let's edit the test case. And the main thing we are checking is if a customer status is gold, that he gets a 20% discount and 2-day free shipping. So let's enter the expected values here. The price discount should be 20%, that's expected. And the shipping discount should have 2-day free shipping. Let's go back to our test suite and add one more test case. Let's edit that. And in this case, I'm going to enter a customer status of silver. And there would be no price discount. That's what's expected for silver status. And the shipping discount is none. Now we can go back to our test suite and test both of these test cases. Verbal rules are a nice addition to BPM Suite 12c. Because of the natural language style of expressing rules, they are a lot easier for business users to read and understand.